Today, we dive into a truly legendary encounter from a simultaneous exhibition featuring the American master Hermann Steiner. Steiner was a titan of the era, known for his relentless attacking style and his ability to conjure magic out of thin air. His opponent, Crawford Sensenig, finds himself on the receiving end of one of the most spectacular king hunts in the history of the game. This isn't just a game of chess, it's a high-stakes gamble where material is cast aside in favor of pure, unadulterated aggression. The game begins with the classic opening of kings. Steiner, playing with the white pieces, pushes his pawn to e4, claiming the center and opening lines for his queen and bishop. Sensenig responds symmetrically, moving his pawn to e5. This sets the stage for an open, tactical struggle. Steiner develops his knight to f3, immediately attacking the black pawn, and Sensenig defends it by bringing his knight to c6. Now, Steiner signals his aggressive intent early by bringing his bishop to c4. This is the Italian game, a favorite of Romantic-era attackers, focusing its sights on the weakest point in the black camp, the f7 pawn. Sensenig counters with knight to f6, entering the two knights' defense. It's a bold choice that invites Steiner to launch a direct assault. Steiner doesn't hesitate, he leaps his knight to g5. This is the fried liver, or the knight attack, a move that strikes fear into the hearts of beginners and challenges the nerves of masters. The knight and bishop are now both glaring at that vulnerable f7 square. Sensenig reacts correctly, blocking the bishop's path by pushing his pawn to d5. Steiner captures the pawn with his own pawn on d5. Now comes a critical moment. Usually, black should play knight to a5 to kick the bishop away, but Sensenig decides to play dangerously. He captures the pawn on d5 with his knight. This is exactly what Steiner wanted. It's time for the fireworks to begin. Steiner unleashes the sacrifice that defines this opening. Knight takes f7. The crowd watching the simultaneous exhibition must have gasped. Steiner gives up a full piece early in the game just to drag the black king out into the open. Sensenig has no choice but to capture the knight with his king. Now, the king is exposed, standing on f7 with no pawn cover. Steiner follows up instantly with queen to f3 with a check. This move is a double attack. It checks the king and puts pressure on the knight at d5. To keep his extra piece, Sensenig must move his king to e6. Just look at that position. It's only move 7, and the black king is standing in the center of the board, surrounded by his own pieces, but feeling incredibly lonely. Steiner continues the pressure by developing his knight to c3. He now has 3 pieces attacking the pinned knight on d5. Sensenig tries to create a counter threat. He moves his knight to b4. He's attacking the c2 square, threatening a fork on the king and rook, while also providing additional defense to his knight on d5. Steiner, with ice in his veins, ignores the threat for a moment and plays pawn to a3. He challenges the knight immediately. Sensenig goes for the material. His knight takes c2 with a check. Steiner calmly moves his king to d1, and Sensenig's knight captures the rook on a1. At this moment, Sensenig is up a massive amount of material. He has an extra rook and a knight. In any normal game, white would be resigned. But Steiner isn't playing a normal game. He knows that in the hunt for the king, material is secondary to time and space. He plays knight takes d5. The black king is feeling the heat. Sensenig retreats his king to d6, trying to find some safety behind his pawns. Steiner is relentless. He plays pawn to d4, opening the center even further. Every move he makes is designed to strip away the king's protection. Sensenig captures the pawn with his pawn on d4, hoping to trade pieces and simplify the position, but Steiner has no intention of slowing down. He develops his bishop to f4 with a check. The king is forced to move again, stepping to c5. Pause for a moment and look at the board. The black king, the most important piece in the game, has traveled from e8 to f7 to e6 to d6 and now all the way to c5. He is practically in the middle of the enemy camp. Steiner brings his bishop back to a2. This might look like a retreat, but it's a brilliant prophylactic move. He clears the c4 square for his queen and ensures his bishop remains a long-range sniper. Sensenig plays pawn to a5, trying to create some room or perhaps a flight square, but the net is closing. Steiner plays bishop takes c7, attacking the black queen. Sensenig moves his queen to d7, desperately trying to stay in the game. Now Steiner makes a quiet but deadly move, king to d2. He is preparing to bring his last inactive piece, the rook on h1, into the fight. Sensenig tries to bring his knight back into play, moving knight to c2. It's too late. Steiner swings his rook to c1. The pressure on the c-file is unbearable. Sensenig pushes his pawn to d3, a desperate attempt to block the file and create a distraction. Steiner doesn't blink. He captures the knight with his rook. Rook takes c2 with a check. The king is forced to move again. Sensenig plays pawn takes c2, but the lines are now wide open. Steiner delivers the penultimate blow, queen to c3 with a check. The king is forced to the edge of the board, moving to b5. And now, the final, elegant finish. Steiner slides his queen to c4. Checkmate. The black king stands on b5, surrounded by white pieces, with no escape. Despite being ahead by a whole rook for most of the game, Sensenig was powerless against the sheer coordination and tactical brilliance of Steiner's attack. Steiner didn't care about the pieces he lost. He cared about the king he was hunting. It is a masterpiece of initiative, a reminder that in chess, the most powerful weapon isn't the number of pieces you have, but how you use them to create a singular, unstoppable purpose. The journey of the Black King in this game is one of the most remarkable ever recorded. From the starting square to the middle of the board, and finally to a lonely demise on b5, it serves as a cautionary tale for those who accept the fried liver attack without the utmost precision. Steiner's creativity and his willingness to sacrifice everything for the attack have left us with a game that continues to inspire and educate players decades later. It was a victory of spirit over material, of calculation over caution. Thank you for joining me on this journey through a classic piece of chess history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the brilliance of Hermann Steiner, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We have many more stories from the checkered board to share with you, and your support helps us keep the history of this beautiful game alive.